Hey, before we get started today, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor today, MyBookie. Check them out at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code ATLAS for 50% credit on your first deposit up to $1,000. Well, let's talk about this. A big upcoming fight this weekend, Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz, part 2. They fought the first one March 3rd, 2018. Wilder scored a TKO in the 10th round, but not before he was in big trouble in the 7th round. Ortiz had him. I mean, I think Ortiz was 1 or 2 punches away from knocking Wilder out, but to Wilder's credit, he fought like a champion, dug deep, and come in and closed the show with a TKO stoppage in the 10th. He was up 85-84 on all 3 scorecards at the time of the stoppage, so this was no walk in the park. And to his credit, he's getting in there again with Ortiz. I'm actually surprised that he would want to take this fight again before he allegedly is going to face Tyson Fury sometime early next year. But curious to hear your thoughts on this one.
I'm going to get right to what I think counts. Ortiz is 40 years old, unless he's 41, but he's at least 40. And, of course, he's a southpaw. He was a southpaw the first time. He'll be a southpaw the second time. And southpaws get hit with right hands. And guess what? Wilder punches pretty damn good with the right hand. And so the history of this sport has shown us, if you look at the history, you examine it, it has shown us that when you have a rematch between 2 guys who fought a great fight the first time and they left it all in the ring, and the one who lost was the older one by a significant amount. Ortiz is 40, I think Wilder is 34. And Wilder didn't have a lot of amateur fights. He started late, so he doesn't have a lot of miles on the odometer. Even at 34, he's a very young 34. Where Ortiz had a big amateur career and all that. And of course, even though you look at the record of Wilder and you see a lot of fights on that record, but they were easy fights. I mean, except Ortiz was a tough fight, but on the whole, as he was being built up, I mean, he was like the old timers would say, he was on a soft diet. He was on a soft diet, buddy. He was on Campbell's soup diet. All right, Campbell's soup, right above your head. That's what he was eating. He was eating a lot of Campbell's soup, and but listen, give him all the credit in the world. He got there. But the point I'm making is that when you go through the history of this sport, the older fighter, the older one, in the rematch, he's usually blown out the second time because he's not able to replicate the initial effort physically or mentally, especially mentally. They feel like they did everything they could. Just try to understand this, Ken, and I'm sure the fans will too. When you got a rematch like this, and it was a terrific fight, and the older guy fights a tremendous fight, and he has the younger guy on the brink of beating him, but he doesn't get it done. The second time, he's got nowhere to go, baby. I mean, physically, but mentally. He physically left it in the ring, but mentally it's like, I did everything I could. I couldn't be any better. And I lost. And so he's deflated. And the mental part is 75% of this business, baby. Sometimes 80%, sometimes 85%, sometimes 90%. The older you are, the more the percentage goes up. So here, that the history has shown us that. I mean, I'll give you the examples. Jersey Joe Walcott, the great Jersey Joe Walcott. What a great heavyweight champ. Great fighter. Great puncher. Pioneer. Used to make moves. Ali copied some of his moves. Our friend Mazador even used one of his moves. The great UFC champion. when he moved to the side a little bit, then came with the flying kick and knocked out his opponent in 5 seconds. He set him up. Jersey Joe used to set guys up with the movement. He'd start walking this way, start walking that way, and then get you a little mesmerized, and then all of a sudden, bang, catch you with something. And Jersey Joe Walcott fought as good as he could fight, maybe the greatest fight he ever fought, against Marciano, a younger fighter. Marciano fighting for the title the first time. And Walcott's ahead going into the 13th round. Matter of fact, if it was a 12-round fight, he would have won. There would have been no Marciano. Yeah, there would have been no Marciano. So, the only undefeated heavyweight champ, 49-0. And Larry Holmes came close, but then somebody named Michael Spinks came up and stopped that from happening. So, he's fighting. Jersey Joe Walcott is beating the young, strong Brockton blockbuster, Rocky Marciano, 13 rounds. And the only way he can lose is by knockout because he's ahead on all the scorecards. And what happens? He gets knocked out in the 13th round. I'll say it again. I can't overstate. Fought a fabulous, magnificent fight. Couldn't fight any better. And then in the rematch, and this is significant because this is what I'm using for example, for proof of my theory, of what I believe. If I'm in the courtroom, you look like a lawyer, Ken, by the way. You do. You look like a lawyer. You look like a winning lawyer. A lawyer that probably gets overpaid, though. Probably gets overpaid a little bit. But still, you look like a lawyer. And, so if I'm in a courtroom, I'm trying to make my case I'm trying to make right now, that's Exhibit A. Because in that second fight, in their rematch, what happens? I'll tell you what happens. Walcott gets blown over, run over in 1 round. He couldn't replicate the effort mentally, emotionally, physically. And I'll give you another one. Because you put your glasses back on. So you reminded me we're still in the courtroom. I'll give you another one. The great Alexis Arguello. He fights one of the great fights of all time with Aaron Pryor. And our great fans out there are going to say, yeah, Ted, bring that up. Yeah, let's remember Pryor. Pryor was great. Drugs got him I'm sorry, and hurt him. But he was great. He was great. And I'll always remember how great he was. His will, everything. And he fights the great Alexis Arguello. Arguello was older. Arguello had more miles on the odometer. Arguello was several weight class champion. And Aaron Pryor fights him. And if my memory serves me correct, it went late. I mean, you probably find it, or Rob will find it. I believe that was a 15-round fight too back then. And I don't remember exactly if it was 12 rounds it went or went 14 rounds. Whatever it was, doesn't matter. I mean, we'll get the number before I'm finished. But they fight this great fight back and forth, just like what we're describing in Ortiz and Wilder. Moments for both guys. Tremendous, historic fight. And what happens? Pryor gets to him. Arguello fights one of the greatest fights he ever fought. And people are going to say, Teddy, how could you pick a losing fight for a great fight as one of the great fights? It happens. Even though he lost, just like Jersey Joe, it might have been the greatest fight he ever fought because of who he was in there with. And he fights this great fight with Aaron Pryor, and Pryor still beats him. Pryor still overcomes him. Pryor swarms him in that round. What round was it?
I'm trying to find it. 1 sec.
He swarms him in that last round, late in the fight. Tremendous fight. And he stops him. He knocks him out. And then what? They fight a rematch. If my memory serves me, it was in Miami.
10th round.
And a lot of people, but not the experienced veterans of this sport, but a lot of people are saying, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. But just like in the movies, Ken, usually the follow-up is not as good. You know, what's the word, Rob, for when you got the second movie, it's the sequel. Usually the sequel. I'm so glad I got smart guys around me. I am so blessed. The sequel is usually, unless it's The Godfather. The Godfather 2 was pretty damn good. That was pretty damn good. With a young De Niro showing you a young Corleone in Sicily. Wow, that was good. But other than that, sequels can be disappointing. And same thing in rematches sometimes. And especially when one guy is older and the other guy is younger. And again, they have the rematch, Arguello and Pryor in Miami, and what happens? Not even close. Not even close. It's a mismatch. It's a mismatch. Pryor goes right through him. Maybe knocks him out in 8 rounds. Something like that. But he goes right through him. Not near the drama of the first fight. The resistance. You know why? He didn't have any resistance to give anymore. We're talking about where one guy is older. He fights his heart out. Pours it out. And gets beat, and then comes back with the same guy who's younger than him. That's what we're talking about. Those guys are not able to replicate what they did the first time. So, having said that, because for me this is what it's all about. Because usually I'll break it down this way. I did enough. Right hand of Wilder against the southpaw to be there against. Wilder technically has a million flaws. Can he get caught again? Yeah. Million ways he could get caught by Ortiz, who's a good counterpuncher, good fighter, good puncher. Yeah. Yeah, there'd be a million ways he could get caught because Wilder sometimes, even though he's so long and he's so tall, he's so big, but he still doesn't know how to use his height consistently. He still gets off balance, out of position, all of that stuff. All of that. But at the end of the day, he's got that great eraser, the right hand. And I think it'll be there again. I don't see Ortiz, and I'm going to lay myself on the line. I'm going to lay myself where people can be critical of me. And come after me. I'm going to say that in my theory, in my way of thinking, what I just laid out, I'm going to say that Wilder gets Ortiz out of there within 5 rounds. Matter of fact, I'm going to go better. I'm going to say he gets him out in 1 round. Yeah. I'm going to say that there's a chance, Can I sit on the fence? I'm not known for sitting on the fence. Can I have my cake and eat it too a little bit? Attorney, counselor, can I have my cake and eat it too? Can I appeal to the courts that I say within 5 rounds, but I wouldn't be shocked if Wilder gets him out in 1 or 2.
Well, to emphasize your point about the younger man in the rematch usually getting the better of the older man, here's an even more relevant example. Wilder fought Bermane Stavern in January of 2015.
There's a good one. Go ahead.
He beat him in a unanimous decision. They rematched about 18 months, almost 2 years later. Call it 2 years in November of 17. Blasted him out of the ring in the first round. Almost just destroyed him. And
kind of a lot of the things we're talking about, right?
Exactly what you just described. And Stavern was almost the same age then as Ortiz is now. Same exact scenario where it's the only opponent, with the exception of Tyson Fury, that Deontay Wilder hasn't knocked out. Stavern went the distance with him. To Wilder's credit, he made the rematch with him, didn't have to, and blasted him out, first round knockout. So I agree with you. The predictions brought to you by MyBookie. Again, check them out at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code Atlas for 50% credit on your first deposit. And Teddy's predicting Wilder by knockout under let's say 5 rounds, possibly a first round stoppage. I'm going to agree with you. I think Wilder gets him out of there in a hurry. Wilder has so many big fights on the horizon. To get in there with someone, if he wasn't supremely confident he could knock Ortiz out, I can't imagine he would take this dangerous fight again. I think they see something that the public probably doesn't, in that exactly what you just described, that they think they can get this guy out of there quickly. There's so many money fights on the horizon for him, including Tyson Fury, who's supposed to be next.
Yeah, no, I listen. I agree. I agree with you 100%, and that's the way I see it.